Yeah. So you are able to see my screen, no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So we will start our this one. Okay. So now you see. So if you just have a quick recap kind of a thing. So the last week you see we have already started the course, and I think the columns we have discussed here. So we have seen very important things like why columns buckle. So this we have seen. Okay. So we have seen, I think, why all those what are the main assumptions in buckling for deriving, say, all those things we have seen. Then we have also seen this elastica actually. Okay. So in the curvature, say, so if we include all the higher order terms in the curvature, so what happens? So this also we have seen in our previous class. Okay. And I think the last class, as whatever as far as I remember, we have seen the effect of imperfections. Okay. So now I see. So if the column is already bent, say, or the load is eccentric. Okay. So what happens? So this also we have seen in our last class actually. Okay. And here we have arrived at a definition, right? Like the definition of critical load, say. Okay. Previously we used to define as the load at which neutral equilibrium was possible, kind of a thing. But then the last, when there is eccentricity and when there is initial bend, say, so what we have defined was if it is a if we can give some small distance or the load at which actually, okay, the deflection goes unbounded, kind of a thing. Okay, so deflection is unbounded. So this we have seen in our last class. Okay, so these are definition which we have given in our previous classes. Okay, and finally you see we also derived, I think, a generalized kind of a case, like you have a column, say. Okay, so you have the support rotational spring, then you have this also, then you see, so this end, say. Okay, so you have this rotational spring, and you have this type of a system. Okay, so this, I think, beta t, then beta b kind of a thing. That's a top and bottom kind of a thing. So this is rotational stiffness, and this is a rotational stiffness at the top actually. Okay, so this we were discussing in the last class. So this is very, very important, because if you have any multi-story buildings, say, okay, so if you have any grid kind of a thing, if I want to find out buckling of this portion of the column, or several kinds of restraints are there, so this derivation becomes very, very important actually. Okay, and I think last class we already wrote the boundary condition, was something like, you see, so your bending moment is equal to that rotational spring, you see. So y double dash of 0 minus you followed, right? So this alpha b, yeah, y dash of 0 is equal to 0, kind of a thing. Then I think eiy triple dash actually, okay, of 0 plus p times y dash at 0. So this becomes beta b into y of 0 actually. Okay, so this is at the bottom. Then you can even write at the top also. Okay, so four boundary conditions will be there. Yeah, sorry. Oh, that. Oh, this is the same thing. Okay, so I think same sheet it is coming. Okay, fine. So now these were the boundary conditions. Okay, now similarly, you see, you can write at the top also similar type of boundary condition. So for the boundary conditions you have, then you solve it actual. Okay, so now if you try to solve this one, so if you define some non-dimensional quantities, say, RT, that is alpha t into L by EI kind of a thing. Then TB, so this is a beta B, say, okay, into L cube by EI. Okay, then tt, this is also some non-dimensional kind of a thing. So L cube by ei kind of a thing. Then rb. Okay, so if you define as is alpha b L by ei, so if I define, and k anyway is root of p by ei actually. Okay, so if you have like this, so if you substitute in your solution kind of a thing, so you have, you see, a 4 by 4 matrix kind of a thing. You have t of t, then kl square, then 0, then t of t. So substitute in these four boundary conditions. Okay, so the boundary conditions are oh god. No, so this is our boundary condition. So substitute in this the four boundary conditions, say. So you will have four equations will come. So 0, then you see rt, then rt times kl, then you see kl whole square, then you have tb, Okay, so TB you see minus KL whole square. So you will get you see terms like this. So TB sine KL, and then you see TB cos KL. Okay, and the last one will be you see 0. So you will be having RB. Then this is little bit RB KL cos KL minus KL square say times your sine KL you have. Then this will be minus RB KL sine KL minus KL square cos KL. Okay, so this determinant it will be equal to 0. So you solve this equation say, and you can get your buckling load. Okay, so solve for KL and calculate you see the buckling load actually. Okay, then PCR. So this is how we do for a generalized kind of a case actually, where you have multiple boundary conditions. You can give at the top and the bottom of this column. So this way you can find out the buckling load for this type of generalized kind of a case, where you can have boundary conditions variety beam column depends actually whether beam is stiff what happens last class also we have discussed. Okay, so alpha t beta t alpha b beta b by varying, so you can solve this equation and you can get your buckling loads. So now as already I told you, suppose if alpha t beta t alpha b beta b say, if all of them are infinity kind of a thing, so then you have a fixed condition you have. Okay, so beta b then alpha b. So if this is tends to infinity kind of a thing say, you will get fixed kind of a case. And if you solve, so you will get the same the answer what you have done previously. And we have also said that you see if alpha t beta t say, okay, then alpha this if they tend to 0, so then it is a free kind of a beam. So this also you can solve actually, okay, through this the determinant of this matrix. So this is like a generalized case where you can use this for any type of a problem actually. Okay, so these are something like general case. Okay, so now let us see one more interesting thing here is this stepped column actually. Okay, I think we'll open a new sheet. I don't know why it is. Okay, so now I see let us do for a stepped column. So these also straightforward, but anyway you see we will just see. So now we have I say cantilever column like this, which is a stepped. Okay, so this is our column. So now you have a load P. Okay, so with this also is P. Now we have to find out its buckling load actually. Okay, so this total length is L. Now, and then this is L1, and this is you see L2. Okay, and then you have this is the moment of inertia of this one is I1, and this is you see I2 actual. Okay, so this is like a stepped column kind of a case where moment of inertia is changing at some point kind of a thing. Okay, so now this you have to calculate for a stepped column. So this also is straightforward. So if you take this as your origin say, so this is your y and this is your x, and so now because it's a cantilever so what happens is, so to write the equation of equilibrium say, okay, so it will be something like this. So if the deflection say is like this, so now this portion if you take the top deflection as a delta say, okay, so now you write your equation of equilibrium. So all of for a cantilever. So but only problem here is we are having this two columns, that one is a stepped column kind of a thing you have. So you can write this expression as you see y double dash, so p into you see delta minus y1 kind of a thing. So that is this place. Okay, so you take one section here, another section here say, so two equations you get ei y2. So y2 double dash say is equal to p into delta y2. Okay, so these are our two things. So this equation is valid for this portion, so this equation is valid for this portion itself. So two conditions you have. Okay, so now if you denote say k1 square as that p by you see ei1, and k2 square say as some p by using ei2. Okay, so you can write these two ODEs as so y1 double dash plus k1 square y1, so is equal to say k1 square delta, and you have the second equation becomes the same y2 dash. So k2 square say of y2 is equal to you see k2 square of delta actual. So these are all second order ODEs, and all of you previously we have solved. So on right hand side is not zero actual. Okay, so they are all inhomogeneous kind of a thing. So now you will be having particular integral, then complementary solution will be there, and previously we have discussed all those details. So now you can write the solution as so say delta plus c times f. Okay, so cos k1x plus d times is a sine k1x, whereas your y2 say is delta plus some a cos k2x, yeah, plus b sine k2 x kind of a thing. So now there are basically say four constants are there. Okay, so a b c d. So now we have to find out is a four boundary conditions. Okay, so which are required. So for this a b c d, and now please tell me, you see, what are the boundary conditions here? Can anybody tell us? Four boundary conditions you have to spell out. See, what are the boundary conditions?
Moment and shear is 0 at the top. And
no, already you followed, right? We have taken, so this is a second order ODE. So second order ODE means, we have exhausted your, you understand, right? We have see, moment if you write, so now here the y1, y2 will be there. So these are second order ODEs. So shear means third order ODE comes, okay, already it is embedded in this, the calculations. Suppose if we start with the fourth order ODEs, then, your movement and other things have to come into picture. So since this is one say, so you have to write the boundary conditions not in terms of shear. So you have to write in terms of what are the quantities.
Sir, at x equal to 0, y equal to 0, y dash equal to 0.
So now which means you have to write the boundary conditions in terms of deflections and you see your slope actually.
and slopes.
Okay. So these are now four constants are there. So now what are the four? So what are the four boundary conditions? Now tell me. Now.
X equal to 0, y equal to 0, y equal to 0 and y dash 0.
Y dash 0. So that will give you two boundary conditions here. And now what are the other two boundary conditions?
At x equal to L2, y dash of previous one is like y. The first column and second column has same slope and deflection.
Where that is this junction. Okay. So at this junction, say you have to mention that you followed, right? Your the slope and deflection are continuous actually. Suppose if they are not continuous, then what happens? See,
some
here
function we have to
compatibility.
It means there are two columns actually. It's like two separate problems you have. So this is separate kind of a thing you get actually. Okay, so now so now your boundary conditions have to be written in terms of these conditions only, that is deflection and slope. Some of you followed it. If you want to write in terms of movement and shear, then you have to work with fourth order ODE actually. Okay, that is we wrote right previously also. Fourth order ODE means what happens? You will have four boundary conditions for this column, four boundary conditions for this column. So then you should have 8 boundary conditions. So now your 8 boundary conditions, you have to get here also 2 in terms of slope, deflection, then your bending moment, then shear force will be there, and this side say your bending moment, shear force will be 0 kind of a thing you have. Then here also you should have shear equilibrium, then moment equilibrium. All those things you have to write here. But here we have started from second order ODE, so some few boundary conditions itself will be sufficient. Okay, so now to solve this side, so we do like this. So the first condition is, so your y2 is equal to 0 at x is equal to 0. Okay, so if a substitute, say, which comes out to be your a is minus a delta kind of a thing you have, then y2 dash, say it is also 0, the slope at x is equal to 0. So this means your b is also 0 kind of a thing, which implies your y2 say is you can write in terms of delta 1 minus you see cos kx kind of a thing. Okay, so this is a condition you see you have. And now at the top of the column, say, okay, of course this is not required, but just so at the top of the column. Okay, so now our condition is your delta plus you see c cos you see k1l. Okay, plus d sine your k1l. So now at the surface, at the top of the column, so what's the deflection here? So the deflection is, you see, delta itself. So if you write, this itself in terms of delta, say, okay. So which means, you can solve for this. So finally, you will get C as, you see, minus D times, tan K1 into L actual. Okay. So this you will get one, this thing. And now we will enforce, you see, continuity. Okay. So the continuity at the junction. Okay. Between these two columns, say. Yeah. So deflection has to be, you see, same. So delta plus C cos, K1 into L2 plus D sine, K1 into L2. Yeah. So this will be same as delta 1 minus cos K2 into L2. Please be careful what you are substituting actuals. Okay. So now in the case here, the origin is at the bottom actual. Okay. So when I say x is equal to L2, say this is this point. When x is equal to L, say this is this point actual. Okay. So be careful in writing these notations. Okay. So now you solve for this, constant. So you solve for, so D, because anyway C and D are related. So finally, you see, you get D as, some, after so much algebra. So delta cos K2 L2 cos, say, K1 times L divided by, you see, sine, K1 L1. Okay. And your C, say this constant C will be, say, delta cos K2 L2 sine K1 L by using your sine, K1 L1. Okay. So this is our, the final expressions for D and C also. And then you see, now here we have to find out the buckling load also. You followed, right? So now to find out 4 boundary conditions are fine. Apart from that, we also have this condition is, you followed, right? Slope also has to be continuous. Okay. Slope also has to be, you see, continuous kind of a thing. So now, so at this junction, say, so if you try to differentiate, so delta K2 sine K2 L2, these are slope from the first, the bottom column, and this one's minus C times K1 sine K1 L1 plus D times, you see, K1, yeah, cos K1 times L2. Okay. So this is a condition you have. And finally, say, so you substitute C and D, you followed, right? Yeah, C and D, and then you see, do this algebras after so much followed, right? Here, there, and if you do this one, so finally your expression will be tan K1 L1 tan K2 L2, yeah, is equal to, you followed, right, K1 by K2. So this is a beautiful equation. You see, you get a transcendental equation to calculate, you see, the buckling loads. You followed. So it is a nice, thing which comes. You followed. So now how do you know that this is correct? See, how to verify whether it is correct or not? No. See, now how do you know that you followed, right? It is correct or not? See, after solving all the things, we have got as, tan K1 L1 multiplied by tan K2 L2 is equal to, you see, K1 by K2 kind of a thing. Okay. So generally one thumb rule is, I always used to tell in the classes, how do you know that your equation is correct? Yeah. See, how do we verify in mathematics your equation is correct? Now, what the thumb rule is, it should look beautiful actually. You followed, right? And it should look beauty means, it should has to be very, very simple kind of a thing. So now in this problem, say, okay, so the equation finally, after do all the complicated mathematics, see, finally we arrive at, you followed, right, a nice equation like this actually. Okay, so this equation looks very nice, right? So tan K1 L1 tan K2 L2 is equal to K1 by K2. What is K1 by K2? So K1, as already we have seen, you followed it, it is nothing but P by EI1, then K2 is equal to, you see, P by EI2 K itself actually. Okay, so now it's, so this is how you see the equation. So finally, whatever you do, say, if the equations have to look, you see, very compact and very nice, that means, your answer also is correct. This is just a thumb rule actually. Okay, so generally our thumb rule is, after do whatever calculations, the equation has to be compact and simple kind of. You can verify yourself. Okay, so this is a nice, it's a transcendental equation, to calculate buckling loads. So now you cannot find out any closed form solution like pi square AI by L square kind of a thing or something. So this has to be solved, you see, numerically kind of a thing. Okay. So numerically you solve and calculate, you follow right, the buckling loads. So this is how you see we do for stepped columns. Okay, so there is no expression, so you have to do only on a computer. And as already we have seen here, now the buckling load, say for this problem, it depends on the most important thing is two things actually. One is I2 by I1. Okay, how the moment of inertias are different actually for the first column to the second column, and then it also depends on L1 by L2 actually. Okay, so this also, suppose if I1 is I2, then L1 is L2, so then what happens? Now, see, if it is I1, I2 both are same, then L1, L2 both are same, say. So you will get, the tan square you followed, right? KL kind of a thing you have is equal to K1 by K2. And anyway, P and other things also gets cancelled. So you will have a nice equation, same equation you will get for a cantilever actually. So you can just verify if I2 is equal to I1, then L1 is equal to L2, say. So this problem should boil down to, you see, cantilever, the problem. Okay. So this way also you can verify whether you have done correctly or not actually. Okay, so you can check this. So what you can do is you plot this value. So you plot the buckling load. Okay, so for variety of cases. Okay, so for various conditions, say. So if you do, you can get numerically, there is no closed form solution. You have to do this, the numerical solutions only. Okay, so these are very followed, right, important kind of a thing which you have to solve for, you see, the stepped columns actually. So now in a generalized case, if you want to do with fourth order ODE, okay, so you want to start with fourth order ODE, no second order ODE, say, then the boundary conditions will be like this. 8 constants will come, so 8 boundary conditions are required. Okay, so if you write in terms of, you see, the fourth order ODE, that is in terms of, you see, the load itself. Okay, so then you see, the boundary conditions you have to write the moment and shear equilibrium. So at the junction. Okay, so movement and shear equilibrium also you have to include. Then all those things if you do, say, then then also you can calculate your equation of the equilibrium for your this, and you can solve for the constants, and you can numerically estimate, you see, the buckling loads. Okay, so this is how you have to solve for, you see, the stepped columns. Okay, and then the another one interesting thing is this beams on, you see, the elastic foundation. This is also very interesting problem.
Hello.
Now please tell me.
So one thing, like if we use fourth order ordinary differential equations, then we will have to incorporate the force boundary conditions also. But if we simulate in the previous
Please tell
problem,
me.
we have to use the 8 boundary conditions, right? In the previous
Yes.
problem. Now, then the force boundary conditions will come into place. And
Yes.
now if we try to simulate the problem with the usage of finite element analysis, in finite element we only can specify the boundary conditions as displacement boundary condition. So
Yes.
how to incorporate the force boundary conditions into the coding?
No,
In that
that
case,
already seen. When you are doing in finite elements, you already decided, you decide your supports also, right?
yes. Okay.
So already it is incorporated. Suppose if you don't know the support finite element, there is no issue because already you have chosen a support, simply support, automatically it takes that boundary condition.
Okay.
So no, what I am trying to say is what you have told is fine. Now when you are solving a fourth order boundary condition, what I am trying to say is, apart from the bending moment is 0, shear force is 0 at these two boundaries actually, at this place as well as at this place, at this junction, say, you have to ensure that slope, deflection, they are continuous. Plus you also should ensure that your movement is, say, and shear also should be in equilibrium actually at this junction. Okay, here anyway the boundary condition. Here bending moment is max or something you followed it, shear force is there or something like that. Here that bending moment is 0, then shear force is 0, you can write actual. Okay, but now at this junction, this depends on your support conditions. Okay, but now at this junction, apart from slope and deflection, this also has to be enforced. That is what we are trying to say. Okay, at the junction. If it is a second order ODE, these two are not required directly because anyway that is understood actual. Okay, that is how you have to do. Okay, yes. So now fine. So now we will go to this beams on elastic foundation. This is also very very important, you see, the application you see you have in buckling actually. Okay, so I will tell you where it is nicely used. I am not going to derive, you can derive, you see, yourself. It's very easy. It's the OD. So you are having a beam, say. Okay, so now so this is a beam subjected to, you followed, right, this axial load for the time being. So you can take it to be simply supported kind of a case. Okay, and now it is supported on the springs actually. So these also very, very important problem. Where do you see this type of problems? So where do you see this type of problem? So you have a beam subjected to tell me where?
Plinth beam.
Plinth beam is there. No, apart from that, see, plinth beam you don't have axial forces, right? Whether plinth beam can buckle. See, plinth beam cannot buckle, right? Then where do you see this type buckling problem? Now, for what problems it is very important? Now, what problems? See, where do you see? Pavement.
Retaining walls under compression.
Okay, retaining walls under compression, but retaining walls, that is also one thing. But where do you see these type of things? The most important, where do you see these type of things? Pipelines. Have you seen pipelines? See, pipelines will be, subject. They will be lying on soil only. In campus also, they are putting pipelines. Our many everywhere you see a big, huge water pipe, sewage pipes, and other things. So these are pipelines actually. And pipelines, what happens? What type of loading pipeline will be having? They will be subjected to pressure kind of a thing actually. You followed, right? Some pressures will come. So that means, compression kind of a load you have, and this pipeline is resting on soil. So now buckling becomes, very, very important for these type of structure. Tunnel, ginnel, when they are subjected to pressure, plus they are resting on some soil kind of a thing, then this becomes a very, very important kind of a thing actually. Okay, not only this one. So suppose if you are having a column, say, you can have a column, multiple supports. See, now here one beam is coming, here one beam is coming, you followed, right? See, suppose a column is like this, say, okay. So one beam is coming in a multi-story building, say. So this is also column resting on springs actual. But whereas here the springs stiffness or something, it depends on your beams, all other kind of thing comes. But now this is a pipeline on elastic foundations, full on soil itself, on soils. Okay, and now how do we solve this type of problem? It's a very, very interesting problem. Suppose if you take alpha, say, this is a stiffness, okay, of your soil per unit length.
Sir, I have a question.
Please tell me.
Yeah, so where is the axial force coming exactly in a pipeline?
No, it's a compression.
So like why is it subjected to compression exactly?
No, pipelines, water will be there, right? Water, or sometimes you followed, right? When you close the valve or something, what happens?
Oh, okay. Suction.
So you will be having this sometimes. No, axial load if see, as already I told you, any structure, say, under a compression, you see there is a chance of buckling actually. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So you know the pressure kind of a thing you have. Not only, I will tell you one more example is after we get the solution. Okay. Now see this was now what this problem says. So you are having a beam, not a beam or a column kind of a thing, which is subjected to lying on soil and subjected to compression kind of a thing. So now what will be the equation of equilibrium? So all of right. So EI fourth order equation, say. Dx to the power of 4, you already solved actual. Okay, so P into d square y by dx square. Okay, beam column, this is the equation, plus now you are having the foundation stiffness actually. So you will get this extra, you followed, right, term into picture. So this is your equation of equilibrium. Suppose if you ignore soil, say, that means this portion, then you see this is your fourth order ODE written in terms of shear and other kinds of things actually. Okay, so now here, so this problem is very, very important actually. So k square, if you denote, say, P by EI, okay, and lambda to the power of 4, say, this is alpha by, you see, 4 EI. You followed. So if you denote some non-dimensional terms, so this fourth order ODE is, say, okay, so this will be a fourth order plus actual k square y double dash, you see, plus, you see, 4 lambda to the power of 4 y is equal to 0. So this is your equation comes, you know, for this beam on elastic foundation. Okay. Now here the beauty is, now since this is a fourth order ODE, say, so now you will be having 4 roots will come into picture. So the solution can be written as C1 e to the power of R1 times x, C2 e to the power of R2 times x, plus C3, say, okay, e to the power of R3 times x, plus C4 e to the power of R4 times x. Actually 4 roots will come here, and your roots, say 1, 2, 3 and 4 roots you can write as like this. You can easily solve the fourth order ODE. So you have minus k square by 2 plus or minus k square by 4 minus 4 lambda to the power of 4. So this is a solution actual. Okay. So for a beam on elastic foundation. And now here whether a beam on elastic foundation can buckle or not is the first question. Whether it buckles. When it will buckle? You see the roots of this equation and tell me. Now, please tell me.
When there will be no support, then only it will
When?
be there.
No, what type of roots will buckle? Buckle means what should happen to your y? See, suppose if the roots are imaginary. If the roots are imaginary, what happens? See, your R1, R2, R3, R4, if there is a imaginary terms comes into picture, say, then what you will do, you will write the solution in terms of sine and cos actual. You followed, right? Now we know that sine and cos, they are not a diverging kind of a thing actual. Okay, so they will be simply, oscillating kind of a thing you have, but they will not diverge. So now here we are looking for solutions where your deflection should be like this actually, diverging kind of a thing, and that is what we call as buckling, right? So when you give small change in the load should cause this large change in the deflections. So now here the roots of the equation becomes very, very important. So if the roots are positive, say your R1 or at least one root actually, if it is a positive kind of a root, if we have, what happens? So C1 e to the power of some R kinds of x, and if these are positive roots, how exponential grows, automatically deflection grows, you see, exponential kind of a growth will be having actually. Okay, so here the most important thing is, so the column cannot, there is no chance of beam buckling. There is a chance also depending on your foundation stiffnesses. Okay, so now to verify this buckling, say, so we check these roots, you can check yourself. So this term governs. So your k square minus 4 lambda to the power of 4, say, okay, this governs. Suppose if R is a negative, say, then what happens? Exponentially, the deflection comes to 0, which means there is no chance of buckling actually. Okay, so now for it to buckle, say, so there are 3 cases, you can check yourself by 4 minus 4 lambda to the power of 4. If it is less than 0, you can show, and if you substitute lambda and this one, so if the load P, say, if it is less than 2 times, sorry, this now. So the 2 root of alpha EI. So you can check that, you see, there is no buckling can happen actually. No buckling. There is no chance of buckling for this beam column at all. Then there is one more root. So k to the power of 4 by 4, say, minus 4 lambda 4 is equal to 0. So which means, your P, okay, is equal to, you see, 2 root, alpha times EI. So which means you followed, right? It is something like, a border kind of a thing. It's like a junction kind of critical damping. You would have studied in dynamics also, over damped, under damp, all kinds of a thing. So it happens. And the last third root, say, minus 4 lambda to the power of 4 is greater than 0, or which means your P, say, if it is greater than, you see, 2 root of alpha EI, okay, then there is a chance of buckling actually. You follow. So 3 cases comes. It is like in your under structural dynamics also, damping, critical damping, you see, over damping kind of a thing we use. So you have. So now this case, what happens is, it is something like your under damped system. You will be having something like an oscillation actually, but it is not unbounded kind of a thing. So this is like a junction. So here, say, in this case, so your deflection, goes just like this actually. Okay, that is the most important thing in the buckling for beam elastic foundation. And finally, if you do this, the calculations, and if you do this junction or something, so PL square, say, by EI. Okay, so if you take this case, that is a P is equal to root of this, like a junction case here. So if you write this one, say, and you can write this as alpha L to the power of 4 by N square pi square EI plus n square pi square kind of a thing you have, and finally say, so if you indicate P of E as a pi square EI by L square actual, okay, and if you denote alpha bar, say new quantity alpha L to the power of 4 by pi to the power of 4 EI whole to the power of say 1 by 4 kind of a thing. So finally your critical buckling load, say, okay, is equal to P, which is your Euler buckling load, alpha bar to the power of 4 by n square plus n square actual. So this is the buckling load for a beam on elastic foundation actual. You have to solve this equation. Now suppose if alpha is 0, what happens? Now if alpha is 0, then alpha bar is 0, what happens? Now, what does it mean if alpha is 0?
Euler loading.
So alpha 0 means what happens? So your there is no soil down. So this is 0. So which means the same. So this quantity is not there. So which means pi square A by L square multiplied by n square actual. Okay, that is how it comes. Now if alpha is not 0, say, then you followed, right? There is a chance act. And if you try to plot this buckling load, say, the graph looks something like this. Okay, so this is your alpha bar. Okay, and this is your PCR by PE. You are compared to your Euler buckling load. So now you see, so for n is equal to 1, say, the curve goes like this. So for n is equal to 1, then you have n is equal to 2. Now, then n is equal to 3, say. So it goes something you followed, right? So this is 1, and if you take somewhere 2, then 3, say, the graph you see looks something like this actual. Now here the most important thing comes. Now if alpha bar, if it is here, say, now the column will buckle in which mode? For alpha is equal to 1. Yeah. So n is equal to 1 means first mode. Okay. Now n is equal to 2 means it's a second mode. Then is equal to 3 means it's a third mode of buckling. So all of you know, first mode will be, you see, like this. Okay. The second mode will be, the column will buckle like this actually. And the third mode, say, okay, something like this. So this is your first mode, second mode, and third mode. Okay. And now what does it tell you? When alpha bar is very, very small, so column with that beam, say, it will buckle in which mode? First mode. Now when column is around 3, say, now it will buckle in which mode? Third. So why it is buckling in third mode? So because to buckle in the first mode, a large load is required. To buckle in third mode, less load is required. So it buckles in, you followed, right? Third mode kind of a thing. So generally in your undergraduate, generally what we study is critical buckling, say. Generally what we do is we check only the first mode actually. You followed, and then say that pi square A by L square or something, and we close the problem. But when you are having a beam on elastic foundation, the most important thing is sometimes your third mode, say, maybe lesser than first mode actually. You followed, or maybe your column, say, if you plot fourth, depending on your alpha. So depending on your foundation stiffness, the column can even buckle in third mode load may be lower than first mode, or sometimes it may buckle in second mode, or sometimes it may buckle even in a fourth mode or fifth mode also. So this is a very, very important observation. So generally everybody says that buckling means always first mode. It's not true actually. Okay, so beam and elastic foundation is a very excellent example, you see, which tells you that there is a chance of the buckling load can be lower in the third mode or even in the fourth mode. So you can look at this expression, n square comes here, n square comes here. So because of that, say, so as alpha bar increases actually, okay, then the beam, say, can buckle in the higher mode, say. So this is a very, very, you followed, right, very important problem in stability, where there is a chance of buckling at higher modes.
Hello, sir.
Please tell me.
So when we are considering the higher modes and when we are considering the beam column combinations, then is it should we not go for Rankine load instead of Euler's buckling load?
You should go for what?
Rankine formulation, then Euler's formulation.
No, we can go for other formulation also. This is an example. Okay, this is just to tell you that a beam and elastic foundation, the supports can change you, the mode shapes itself. We can go for others also. That derivation also we can, but this works in practice. Okay, in practice we use Euler only for this one. And now I told you. So now the best example for this is the plate tectonics actually. Okay, one more where it is widely applied. You know, right? Our Indian plate is there. India, all kinds of continental plates. What type of force our India is subjected to? See, in earthquakes, it's a plate tectonics. If you see, you know, right? Our Indian plate, you followed, right? You have a Himalaya, you see here. So now whatever is there, it is basically subjected to what type of things? Yeah. So our India, whatever it is subjected to, basically compression actually. You followed. And our below our Indian plate, what happens below all the tectonic plates? There is something like a mantle actually. You followed, right? And it is like a fluid kind of a thing. So this mantle, what happens? It is same as stiffness kind of a thing. So your beam and elastic foundation is a best example. You followed it in plate tectonics when they want to find out buckling of plates. You followed. So they use this because of the large size of the dimensions. The whole thing, you can take a section here and you can model, you followed, right, as a beam kind of a thing on elastic foundation, and you can calculate your buckling loads. And now India has buckled or not, our Indian plate?
It's buckled.
Has
Yes.
India buckled? Where it has buckled?
Himalayas.
No, Himalaya is a boundary. You followed, right? Himalaya is a fixed kind of a thing. Where it has buckled? What's the shape of Indian plate? See, suppose have anybody plotted the topography. So if you take a section, how our Indian plate looks like, you see Delhi, you are having a Ganga basin, which is a flat. After that, what happens? You will see India also has a wavy kind of a structure actually for Indian plate also. Like in South India, you have seen, no? South India generally it has to be flat. But what happens here also, you have Kodaikanal, Ooty, all kinds of hill stations are there actually. Okay, and then when you go to Madhya Pradesh, what happens? Once again, you will see a topographical feature. So the whole Indian plate, if you see, it is basically a wavy kind of a thing. You have plain will be there, then hill station comes, then once again plain, then once again hill station, once again plain, once again hill station. So why our plate also has a wavy kind of a structure? See, the best thing you can explain by your beam and elastic foundation actually you followed. So because beam and elastic foundation, what happens? Buckling you followed, right? Wherever there is a hill station, you will have a faults and other things also comes into picture. So the most important thing is, when there is a compression, when you are having a spring force, say that is at the below, there is a chance of buckling at higher modes actually, rather than the first mode. Suppose if India has buckled in the first mode, say, so our you followed it, Indian plate should be like this actually. So which means your Bhopal, Gipal, Indore, Gindor, they all should be low, and we should be at a higher kind of a thing also may happen. You followed, right? So we have not buckled like this. So the plates say they buckle this type of a wavy kind of a structure. So this is one best example, where you followed, right? The things can buckle at higher modes, load can be smaller than the first mode actually. Okay, is it clear? So is it fine? This
Yes.
beams analysis. So it's an interesting problem. Okay, even in geology, people widely use this formulas. No Rankine, people use only Euler buckling only. Okay, in geology. Okay. So now let us go to one more interesting problem, that is in buckling is, you see, the self buckling actually. Now, so this is also very fun. So buckling under its own weight. Okay, so these also you followed, right? Very famous, the thing actually under its own weight. So generally, when we are designing the columns and the other things, so first of all, it should carry its own weight rather than other weights itself. So this is a very famous thing, not only in civil engineering, say, okay. So this is a very, very important thing even in zoology also. You followed, and biology also, many people use. So people would like to know how much tall, say, okay, how much tall a tree can grow. You followed. Now not only a tree, how much tall a human being also. You followed, right? Can grow. Now how do you solve this problem? Now if I ask you, say, how much tall a human being can grow? Now tell me, how to solve this problem? You are seeing trees,
The
right?
tree will
No.
P will be a function of x.
No, what is that problem? Basically, see now trees you have seen, right? Coconut tree, this tree, that tree, you have seen so many trees. How much, what is the maximum height they can grow? So if you want to solve this problem, so what you should do?
I'll equate the critical buckling load with the Euler's formula and calculate LF.
Fantastic. So now you are so that is essentially application in self buckling actually followed, right? So because you have to carry your own load, you can't grow 8 feet or 10 feet or 20 feet, it is not possible actually followed, right? Because you will buckle under its your own you followed, right, weight. All of you will know, right? Suppose if you are if you have increased your weight, say what happens? Which one will buckle? Your legs will buckle. Essentially the knees, you have seen all old people, fat people, knees, they have a problem because they would have buckled actually, tearing in not have. So this problem is essentially your the self buckling problem actually. Okay. So this essentially is what we call as a self buckling kind of a thing. So now here many people have tried to solve this problem. It's a very mathematically, it's a very interesting problem. So Euler also solved actually. Okay. So Euler's solutions are there. Okay. This thing, then the famous thing, this problem was solved by so Euler has solved for columns in some 1770s or something around he did. So this one say he provided Greenhill actually. It's a very famous man. He's I think a zoology kind of a fellow. So he solved this problem in 1881 actually. Okay. And he provided is a closed form solution. You followed for this problem. So this formula is a Greenhill's formula. This is a very you followed, right? A famous formula used in zoology, plants, gains, whoever they study, right? So they use this Greenhill's formula even in biology also. Okay. So how much tall you followed, right, to calculate these expressions. So his fundamental paper is also available. So I will just show you. You can see. You can download from internet itself. Okay. Yeah. So this is how this fellow's paper is there. You all of you are able to see this one. Yeah. So you can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this paper was published in Cambridge Philosophical Society. Okay, in 18 you followed, right? 81 February 7th. Okay. So this has been published by this fellow, this Greenhill. So where he gave the the full derivation actually. You can go through online. If you type itself, you will get here. So he has given nicely the full derivation. He has given the Bessel function, the roots, and he has explained nicely the derivation in his paper itself. Okay. So what I will do is we will just solve the whatever he has done here, and then we will try to get some interesting the results or the mathematical what is the great advantages in his Greenhill's paper. Okay. So I suggest all of you to go through this Greenhill's paper. So next class we will do this derivation and you followed it, and that Euler's the self buckling also for cantilever and other kinds of columns also will derive in our next class. Okay. Where is this team space? So if there are any questions, you can ask now. Okay.
Sir, in beam column thing, we have UDL and compression load also.
In beam column, yes.
So that UDL, I mean that buckling will also depend on P and UDL, right?
No. Right now the problem what we have solved is there is no UDL. Okay. So it is only you are having a springs, that's all. Beam resting on soil, no UDL. It is only you are having a pressure. Now if you suppose if UDL also if you put, say, then what happens?
Yes, sir. So I'm actually trying to think about the problem of column subjected to wind. So there will be a wind load and a compression load also.
Okay. Follow
So
that
in that, so in that case, that wind stability will also depend on the load P also, right?
Yes.
Like we say that in wind loads we don't consider much about the loading of building. We consider more on the wind load.
What you are asking is like this, right? You are having a load like this, no? This problem, no? This problem only, right? You are able to see?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So now this is essentially a beam column, you followed subjected to UDL kind of a thing. Now what happens? What will be its buckling load? No, see, suppose if there is no UDL, say, your buckling load will be same as pi square EI by L square. Okay, now suppose if this is 1, what happens? What will be your critical buckling load? It will be lower than this or higher than this?
Lower than this.
Lower than this.
It should be lower than this.
Yes, it should be lower than this. Now this problem is same as, you can do your mathematical derivation actually, okay? So you can derive, this problem is, you followed it, same as your imperfect columns. You remember last class we already said your column is already bent like this.
Yes, sir.
This is same as this one only. You followed. Now in the previous class what we have done, so when there is a column is bent like this, we expressed in terms of sinusoidal. You remember, right? Sin
yes,
pi x by L we have done. So now this problem, if you want to solve, so now when there is this type of a load, what happens? You will be having a bending moment actually. You understand?
Yes, sir.
So there will be a bending moment which comes from this one, and now this bending moment also you have to represent in terms of sinusoids. That was sin pi x by L or sin 2 pi x by L or sin 3 pi x by L, like that you have to put, and then solve the same solution actually. So whatever we derived in the last class for initially bent columns, we have taken one bent like this, other bends also. You remember, same solution is valid. Only thing is, there we assumed that the column is already bent something. Now what you are saying is instead of bent, you are having a bending moment actually. True, right?
Yes, sir. Okay.
So problem is same. So you can use the same thing, but the only thing is your bending moment, whether it is, suppose if the bending moment is like this, say, then you can represent in terms of sin pi x by L actual. So sometimes if you are having the load is arbitrary, so like you are, as you told, wind load, how wind load is like this actually. You remember?
Yes, sir.
Now for this, what will be the bending moment diagram? You followed, right? And of course, it depends on the support conditions. Then what you have to, suppose if the bending moment is slightly like this, you followed, right? Variety shapes if you're having, say. Now this you have to, first of all, you have to represent this in terms of a Fourier series actually, okay? So sin pi x by L, then sin 2 pi x by L, you will be having several terms. So you solve actually for this case, for this case, for this case, and then you add all of them, you will get the solution.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Sir, what I'm asking is this P. So if we are having a lesser P, we can go for higher UDL, right?
Yes.
Okay, sir.
Obvious, right? It is a proportion kind of a thing. Okay.
Sir, hello.
Tell me.
Sir, just now you told like for any arbitrary shape of any function, we have to go for like Fourier series.
Yes.
Now, one simple thing: if the function, if the column is on my axis, and the whole function stays in a single side of the column, like if we draw the bending moment diagram,
it is one side like this.
Yes, it will be on one side. So in a Fourier series, should we omit the even term like n pi x by L?
Yes, you can omit.
It will increase the efficiency, or it will simply, you can take 1, 2, 3, 4 like that.
No. See how the bending moment diagrams looks like in our structure analysis. You would have seen. Generally, we use a polynomials. You understand, right? See the deflection shape or bending moment, whatever you studied in strength of materials or mechanics of materials, we write the solution in terms of polynomials, some x square, WL cube kind of a thing you have. So now here, if you want to solve mathematically, say, what I'm suggesting is you can represent this in terms of a Fourier series. Now, how many terms are required, as you told, even or odd or something, that you have to decide. Is it clear?
Okay, sir.
So maybe we will do this problem maybe after one next class or next class, since somebody pointed right how to do this one, we will we will solve it actually. Okay, it's a very easy thing, it's, but the mathematics is exactly same as imperfect column. You followed. See, imperfection also you have like this, lateral load also you have like, even eccentricity, say when a column is last class we have seen subjected to this eccentric loading actually. And now what happens when there is eccentricity? So here also there will be bending. because of this eccentricity, since you are having a bending moment here, say. So now, so here you are having a load here, PP, and bending moment is this one. So this problem, then these imperfections, all three mathematically they are same, but of course, you know, the physically, you know, they will give different, you know, the meanings kind of a thing. Is it clear? So we will try to see that one maybe followed, right? Once again in the next class we can discuss. Okay. So I'm stopping the recording. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Some of you, I think they are asking